Hi everyone. So today I'm going to be talking about the main differences between Britain and Australia. So whether you're going on holiday there soon or whether you're moving there, whether you've been offered a job there, whether you've always wondered, is Australia an easy place for British or Irish people to move to? This video is going to be for you. So make sure you watch until the end to get the full details, and please do have a look at my other travel videos too. So a lot of people think actually that moving to Australia is easy if you're British or from a native English country. Because obviously the language is the same, but there are some things that you do need to consider. So, firstly, Australia has some of the most isolated cities in the world. For example, Perth, I think, is the most isolated city. So you have to bear that in mind if you have a lot of family or friends in Europe or the US. You'll probably have to accept that it's not going to be quite so easy for you to travel back and forth and visit as often as maybe you would if you just stayed in Europe or moved to another state in the USA, for example. The other misconception is that it's quite easy to get a visa for Australia. And in terms of tourism, yes, it is a fairly simple process to get it's called an ETA. You simply apply online and it generally gets approved fairly quickly. And I think it's free as well, as long as you do it online before you travel. But in terms of living, working there, you generally do need to be on a visa, either work visa, business visa, be sponsored by an employer to have a job already set up before you go there. It's not quite as easy as people sometimes think that it is. You generally need to have some sort of skill. So to be on a skilled visa, a good example of I think they have a list of skills that Australia is looking for, and your application will be treated more favorably if you have one of those skills. So I know that in the past, people who have been on this skills list include nurses, doctors, teachers, people who do maybe the more blue collar jobs, but skilled jobs like plumber, builders, maybe those sorts of jobs that they need people for. But the list, I think, does sometimes change. So always check the government website for the latest. Sometimes I know it used to be if you lived in a rural, they say regional area, you also got treated more favorably, as that's where they're trying to build up the population. So the other thing that I would say to think about, and this is really important, if you don't drive or have a valid driving license, you may want to get one before you arrive, as things are changing now in big cities. Public transport is pretty good. But as soon as you leave the cities, and for example, in Perth, I know that public transport used to be quite few and far between as soon as you leave the city centre. So it has got better as the population has grown, they've increased the services. So it's kind of like always on an upward curve. As the population gets bigger, they put on more buses, trains. Um, I don't think Melbourne has trams, but in terms of public transport, yes, buses and trains are generally how people get around. So if you don't drive, you'd be relying on things like public transport. I do believe that Uber is quite widely used these days in Australia. I think that it does work there now. There may well be other ride sharing apps now. In terms of traveling interstate, also domestic Australian flights are often more expensive than people think. So it's worth looking at that as well. There are long distance trains as well that go to different places in the state, and of course domestic flights. But that's all something else. The other thing is cost of living. Although salaries are probably higher, the cost of living for like day-to-day essentials, housing, food, even in restaurants, like eating out, is all quite high in Australia. So And I don't know how much inflation they're suffering or if they're having a cost of living crisis. I know that food prices have really gone up. I know for petrol, they have a much lower tax than the UK. So I think that petrol or gas prices are still pretty reasonable, but just general like day-to-day living, you'll find is probably going to be quite a bit more expensive, and you may not be able to do things that you regularly take for granted in your home country. Like if you're the sort of person who likes eating out, getting takeaways, delivery, things like that quite a bit, you might find that you're not able to do it as often as you would like. The other thing is that some taxes are a lot higher. For example, alcohol, tobacco, if you smoke, you're going to find that the tax on these items is very high. So like even buying things in stores is pretty expensive in Australia. The good thing is they don't generally have a tipping culture. So say if you're from the US, you're probably used to tipping at least 20% when you go to a restaurant, or if you're in a taxi, even if you're in a bar or Starbucks, you won't find that in Australia just because they don't have the history of it. So, and also in Britain, sales tax is generally included in the price of something you buy. So that is something that maybe if you're from the US is a positive thing. Like the price you see is generally the price you pay. Everything is already included in that. The other thing you have to take into account on your money is exchange rate fluctuations. So if you're planning on moving somewhere, but having your main or even a side income in another currency, say that's of your hometown or from a pension, from a company you've worked for in the past, you're going to be always relying on the exchange rate staying the same or similar. So it's something to bear in mind. There are companies, I believe, that will help you avoid massive fluctuations, but it's something that you do need to bear in mind. Like if your income changed, if the exchange rate was less favorable to you, would you be able to still live? Would are you prepared when the times are good and the rates in your favor to save away a bit more money just in case? Like, these are all things you need to think about. In terms of people, Australian people are also, maybe if you're from the US, this you probably won't notice this so much, but if you're from Britain, you'll notice people there maybe are a little bit more direct and straightforward. Like if someone thought you said something that was stupid, they'd probably call you out and just say that to your face rather than the British polite sort of way. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just saying this is different. Obviously, in terms of lifestyle, you'll find far more outdoor sports and activities like going to the beach. A lot of people go to a fitness center, or there's free fitness equipment often in main parks and cities that people can use. So that is one advantage. You'll find yourself having more outdoor time and maybe being a little bit healthier. So I think that's pretty much all of the differences for this video. If I do think of more, I'll start another video because I'm sure that I haven't covered all of the differences. So do look at my other travel videos though if you're looking for ways to save money or hotel reviews. I have some great offers. I'm on Facebook as well, Travel with Howard, and I'll be back soon with another video.